Hey, one of the most enjoyable clubs to hit for the beginner golfer is the driver, yet you know what? It's one of the most frustrating and challenging. But the good news is you've come to the right place, because today we're talking about some basic suggestions for the beginner golfer on how to hit their driver. I'm PGA teaching professional Todd Kolb, Director of Instruction for US Golf TV and the Sanford Power Golf Academy. And today we're going to be covering, first of all, what's the difference between the driver and the irons, just real quickly on that. But more importantly, we're going to dive into some tips and some suggestions on how you can actually hit this club, because I'm telling you, it's one of the reasons people love to play the game of golf. Now, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Be sure to leave a comment. We love hearing from, especially my beginner golfers out there. If you're new to the game of golf and you got questions on how to improve or what you should be looking for, or just different suggestions or ideas that you need that maybe help you play better golf, be sure to leave some comments. So first of all, the difference between a driver and the other clubs is the irons is the length of the club. So the driver is the longest club in the bag. It also has the least amount of loft on it. So when it's swung correctly and you hit the ball in the center of the face, it's the club that allows the ball to travel the furthest down the fairway, hopefully, right? And so that creates some different unique challenges that you don't face with the iron. So the first thing you want to know is that it's the longest club in the bag. It has the least amount of loft. It's also the one club that every time you hit it, the ball is teed up in the air. So we're going to dive into some of that. So let's go ahead. Now that we kind of know what the driver is, let's talk about how we can hit it. So first of all, you want to have a stance width that is a little bit wider than your normal stance width with your iron. So how wide should that be? Typically around shoulder width, okay? We're not gonna, if you're a beginner golfer, not get really overcomplicated with the stance width. Just understand that you need to have a good solid base, because this club is long and it's the club you're gonna swing at the fastest. So you wanna have a good solid base. So I like to say about shoulder width apart typically, all right? Now the next thing that you wanna know is that when you hit the ball, you're gonna actually be hitting slightly up on the ball a little bit. So where should the ball be positioned in the stance? Well, basically, because we want to hit up on it, we want the ball to be what we call slightly forward in our stance. So I suggest generally around the inside of the lead heel, or maybe even off the lead toe. I would say this, it's better to have the ball too far forward with the driver than too far back, because when it's forward, it allows you to hit slightly up on the ball, which will help you actually hit the golf ball a little bit further and things like that. So that would be the second suggestion that I'd make for a beginner golfer, is to make sure that you've got the ball a little bit far up in your stance and you've got a good stance width. Now, in terms of the body position, things like that, here's what I want you to do. Just when you're set in there, just make sure that your lead shoulder is a little bit higher than your trail shoulder, okay? So when you're set in there, you got your good stance width, you got your lead shoulder a little higher, your trail shoulder a little lower. That will also help you hit slightly up on the golf ball. So those are three suggestions that we can do to kind of help us hit this club. Now, the one question that we get a lot of, and if you've got other questions, be sure to fire them in the comments there, and I'll do my best to answer them. Anything related to the driver, I'll be happy to answer here. The one question I get a lot of from beginner golfers is, how high do I tee the ball up? I mean, it seems so basic, but a lot of people don't know. And what you'll notice is that your driver's certainly built different than your irons. The face on it is what we call deeper or higher. So you want to tee it up, as a general rule, so that about half of the ball is above the top of the club head. That's a good reference point for you. I think most golfers, beginner golfers, tee the ball too low. Don't be afraid to tee that thing up a little bit, because when it's teed up, it'll help you hit up on the golf ball. And as we've already discussed, that's an important component to what we want to do. So next time we go to the driving range, or you go to the first tee, here's what you're going to do. You're going to tee the ball up, so about half of it's above the top of the club head. We're going to get our stance width about shoulder width. We're going to take our lead shoulder and we're going to tilt it a little bit, and with those suggestions we're going to be able to hopefully put a good solid swing on it. Now, if you want to hit the golf ball as far as possible, here's the last tip I want to give you. Sounds simple, but you got to hit the ball in the center of the face, all right? The more you hit in the center of the face, the further the ball's going to go. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's like, well, yeah, of course, Todd, I didn't tune in to watch this video for 8 minutes to learn to hit the ball in the center of the face. But here's why that's important. Most people with their driver, they swing it way too fast and try to hit it way too hard. And what happens is they get out of balance, and yes, maybe their speed increases, but they're not hitting the ball in the center of the face. I would rather have somebody swing at 80%, hit the ball in the center of the face, because they're going to get more distance than swinging at 100 and hit the ball way out on the toe or the heel or on the edges of the club. That's not going to create the distance that we want. So the last tip I want to give you here is when you're on the golf course, when you're hitting your driver, all I want you to do is, after you've got your setup checkpoints here, is when you finish your swing, here's what I want you to do. You're going to finish your swing, and I want you to just hold your finish and be in balance. Because if you're in balance and you can hold that finish, you're going to probably be more apt to hit the ball in the center of the face. So those couple suggestions, that little bit of understanding how the driver is different than the irons, should help you as the beginner golfer understand how to hit the driver, and more importantly, hopefully hit it straight and long.